We're the Pocono members of the Pocono Dulcimer Club, and we're a club that meets here in Stroudsburg. We play old-time music, which is basically stuff that people would have played back in the 1800s, 1900s, and just stuff that they would have played around their own kitchen table, in their living rooms. And we play instruments that are traditional instruments, not guitars, but we play the dulcimer, mountain dulcimer. Some people will bring in banjos. So we play a lot of acoustic instruments, but we're primarily focused on the dulcimers, both mountain and hammered dulcimer. The one type, the hammered dulcimer, is one that came from ancient Persia and spread around the world, and finally it's here in the United States. The other dulcimer, the mountain dulcimer, is basically a zither, and that's something that was found in the old country. People from the old country would have brought that here, and as it got into the Americas, it got changed. People adapted it, and we have today what's called the American mountain dulcimer, which is traditionally a three-stringed instrument. And it sits on your lap, and you play it with, like a guitar, with the pick and the fret size. They're instruments that you didn't have to have a lot of musical knowledge to be able to play the mountain dulcimer. You could just know a tune and be able to play it by ear. A lot of people didn't know music. They just learned stuff by ear. They learned it what they call knee to knee. They'd learn it from somebody else. As you're sitting with the dulcimer on your lap, you're sitting knee to knee. You made them out of stuff that you had on hand. A lot of people would have made them out of the wood that they used to build their barns or their fences or something like that. The wires, the fret wires. A lot of them were pretty crude instruments. A lot of them were very delicate instruments too. It depended on the level of skill of the person who was working it, but you just had to have a little bit of woodworking knowledge, and you could build one for yourself. The instrument had a revival. A woman named Jean Ritchie, who was from West Virginia, she came into New York in the 40s and got together with people like Woody Guthrie and all of them, the folk music scene at the time. And she basically reintroduced the dulcimer to the world, and so there became a revival of it. So now you could go pretty much any place in the United States. If you Googled dulcimer on your computer, there would be lots of different clubs, different events, and people who build them all around the country. It's an ancient folk instrument. We're actually in Europe, in the old country. There were zithers throughout the continent, and those are basically a box with strings that go across the top of it. Unlike a guitar or a violin, where the strings actually go, the fretboard detaches from the actual body. This goes across the top of it. When the Germans came here to the Americas, here in Pennsylvania, they would have had those instruments with them, and as time went by, they just got adapted by different people who heard them. It moved south into West Virginia, the Carolinas, and up in the mountains, the Appalachians, which is why it's called an Appalachian mountain dulcimer. So I guess it got adapted to whatever the individual wanted to play. I know that it is something that they're found in the Amish community, well, in Lancaster, the Mennonite communities. There's examples of dulcimers. I'm assuming a lot of it would have been similar to what you might find the Moravians that play in Bethlehem. They have a long tradition of like really good classical music in Bethlehem, as opposed to the knee-to-knee thing. Yeah, though I'm sure that was there too.
We all have sheet music that we practice at our homes, and then we get together and we play that. Sometimes it sounds good and sometimes it sounds better.
Probably hymns that people would have used as they were playing. The dulcimer today comes in basically two forms. It comes in the form, this is a traditional mountain dulcimer in what we call a teardrop form. As you see, I've got 4 pegs here, but I've only got 3 strings on the instruments. A traditional instrument would have had only 3 strings. As time went by, they added a 4th string some places to supposedly give it a little bit more volume. The older instruments would have had as much as 20 strings, depending on what it looked like as it was going through its adaptation. But this is what we generally have today. It's another example of a teardrop, and they're all handcrafted, so they're all slightly different.
So my dulcimer is in a traditional hourglass shape. I had a gentleman out in Ohio do all the inlaid wood. So I actually did the drawing and then sent it to him, and then he chose the different woods and did all the inlay. My dulcimer also has a double back or a resonator board, so it is a little louder than a regular dulcimer without the double back on it. I started with the dulcimer because my grandmother gave me a mountain dulcimer as a graduation present from college in 1987. Little did my grandmother know that all these years later I would have a whole bunch of dulcimers and have spent tons of years playing the dulcimer. What I like about the dulcimer is that you can sing with it. I also like getting together with other musicians like we're doing today and playing with other people. That's a lot of fun. We learn a lot of common tunes, so when we get together with people from other areas or other parts of the country, you can jump in and play with them even if you don't know them or you've never played with them before. I think that's one of the great things about playing the type of music that we play.
This is a hammered dulcimer because it's played with hammers. It has a lot more strings than the mountain dulcimer has. It's set up with scales that go up in 3 areas to play. Either straight up or they go up in sets with the markers. From here to here is a key, from here to here is a key. There's one person I know that can play with 2 in each hand.
You could play as much as you could make it as difficult as you want to make it, or as technical as you want to make it, or it could just be simple, right, Pat?